There's a growing focus on mental health in sports. With the Olympics underway, we see these top-tier athletes facing an increasing amount of pressure to perform.
That's right. They all started training when they were young. So we want to talk about the impacts of these pressures with Dr. Matt Mishkind from the CU Department of Psychiatry. Welcome. Thank you. This is a big topic.
It is a big topic, and thanks for having me. And obviously, the Super Bowl last night and the Olympics is
Very
getting a lot of
relevant.
press too.
Yes,
Very
sports
relevant.
on top of mind, that's for sure. Let's start with talking about performing anxiety and depression, anxiety orders. Do you see this in young athletes, like even in kids, these sort of things start to manifest?
Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing it at younger ages. I mean, as we know, there's epidemics across the board in athletics. We're seeing it a lot younger and a lot more pressure for kids. A lot more identity issues as kids start at a younger and younger age and become identified as athletes. And then if they decide to leave or if something happens, we're seeing a lot more difficulties with identity just because of how early and how intense it's starting.
And there's also a lot of burnout. So you're talking about identity, and I think it's important to explore that because I'm seeing, just as a parent right now, and also as a former athlete, I'm seeing an intense amount of pressure for 6, 7, and 8-year-olds. Was that always the norm, or is this becoming more of like a recent phenomenon?
I don't think it was always the norm. I mean, I'm a little bit older, so when I grew up, it wasn't quite the norm.
Right.
It's definitely becoming more and more intense. If you look at the numbers, there's different numbers out there, but there's some numbers that say that youth sports is a $40 billion with a B dollar industry in the United States. So more and more money going into club sports, less and less, a lot of times in certain places going into school sports, middle school sports,
Rec.
and so, yeah, rec sports. I think we're definitely seeing issues with equity and access to sports. And we do know that sports offers a lot of protective factors, but also then if you go too deep into it, you can start to run into these issues again with identity, with kids maybe not wanting to do it. Maybe the parents want them to do it. It's always kind of tough to tell. And then that's adding to a lot of the other mental health issues.
You know, let's talk about this new bill at the state legislature that could potentially force youth coaches to have some, sensitivity training, to have some mental health training. Do you think that would go a long way?
Well, certainly we know the sooner we get to things, the better. And I like to look at coaches and other trusted adults as people who have, they're there with the kids. If they can identify things, if they know what to look for, they might be able to step in and have a conversation with the kid, maybe with the parent, maybe even getting them better resources. So certainly with as many kids that are playing sports and with as much access as coaches and other staff honestly have with kids, I think that's something that would be really critical for us to get ahead of. And that sooner that we maybe even train kids, then as they get older, they're starting to put other things into place that helps them identify or sort of work with those protective factors. So, right now the NCAA number 2 cause of death is suicide.
Right.
And so if we start that earlier and we start understanding those things earlier, that's going to only help as kids get older.
I'm so glad you guys are putting your resources and expertise into this. It's truly life-saving. You are helping put together a conference.
Yes.
Talk to us about that. What is it?
So it's a conference. It's called the Coalition of Athletic Communities for Mental Health. Maybe we need to shorten that name, but that's what it is. And so a couple years ago, we started to identify that there's not necessarily a lack of resources. A lot of times there's a lack of coordination. Sometimes we see duplication of efforts. And you have psychiatrists have certain things, psychologists, you have different, even coaches, athletic trainers. We wanted to bring everybody together and say, let's break down those silos. Let's all start talking from a place of sharing, collaboration. Let's see how we can go deeper, how we can partner, how we can really collaborate and make sure that what researchers know is getting down to the youth coaches that are getting down to the parents, and how can we build that pathway of knowledge to implementation.
Yeah, it's needed. We appreciate you,
absolutely.
Dr. Mishkind, for all the work that you're doing
Yes.
and come sharing it with us today.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.